Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 3, and this is going to be my trailer breakdown for Episode 3, otherwise entitled In Cold Blood. But of course, before we get into anything else, let's actually watch the trailer.
The best way to get through this is going to be as a team, and that means me and you.
My priority is to get better and take down Bruno Mannheim.
That is not how priorities work.
I'm really worried about it.
Me too.
This is the story of a lifetime.
So last episode was a very big, emotional, shocking episode where we do learn that Lois Lane does have breast cancer, stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. It's a big thing. It's going to be carrying on, you'd assume, for the next few episodes, if not the rest of the season. It's going to be very interesting to see where this storyline goes. For so far, they've handled it very well, very respectfully. That was a worry that I think a lot of people had when it was suggested that this might be a storyline route they were going down. So they've started off well, and hopefully it does continue, down that track. But throughout the rest of the episode, we did get our first proper full interaction with Bruno Mannheim through Superman, and then some stuff towards him at the end, where Onomatopoeia does reveal that John Henry Irons is walking around Smallville, which is a bit weird because Onomatopoeia killed them previously. So why is John Henry Irons walking around Smallville? Well, we'll see what happens next in regards to that. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video and the trailer breakdown, we will quickly read out the synopsis or description for this episode, as it does give us a bit more context as to what's going on. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts, theories, predictions, all that stuff leading into this episode. Always curious to hear what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, everything like that, want to drop a like on the video. It takes 2 seconds. Lois and Chrissy pursue a new lead in the Mannheim investigation against Clark's wishes. Meanwhile, Jonathan, Jordan, and Nat's attempt at a kind gesture is complicated by an unexpected obstacle. Lastly, Lana, Sarah, and Kyle adjust to their own new normal. So yeah, to start off the trailer, the Kent family is just trying to stay positive and hopeful, might I say, through Lois's battle with cancer, with the aim to fight as a family. We do have Clark sort of emphasizing that this isn't Lois's battle to go and sit away in a corner or alone in a room and stuff and just deal with it herself. Like when she go and does treatment, someone's going to be there, whether it's Clark, whether it's one of the twins, or whether it's the entire family. They're going to be there. They're going to be there to support her. But you can tell that Lois, sort of is appreciates that. You see the boys making breakfast and stuff, but she doesn't want to live the day to day through that. She obviously respects that and she wants them to be there. She doesn't want to fight it alone, but at the same time, she doesn't want to feel like she is dying. I don't think she wants it to be this is a goodbye sort of thing. And I think that's going to be a tough thing that's going to be played out, especially throughout this episode, you'd assume, but maybe even episodes to follow, just because that would be a real life experience as well. Now, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure at the moment, at the very least, whether anyone in the writer's room has had an experience with someone with cancer or their own, whether it's a family member or specifically a mother, a father, or a brother or sister or something like that, or just even themselves. I'm not too sure if that's the case. We will go over an interview later in this video, but I haven't read over it yet, so I'll be reading it and reacting to it at the first time. So I don't know if that's brought up, but I am curious whether that was a thing that happened, whether anyone in the writing room has experience with it. You'd think so, just because though it's not, you wish it wasn't common. There's usually a lot of people that are touched by, family members and stuff or loved ones having cancer. So maybe someone in the writing room does have some experience with it. But yeah, Lois has her own plans and they sort of don't involve, as I said, sitting on the sidelines or by herself and having people serve her, from sunrise until sunset. She wants to keep being Lois Lane, and this involves taking on Bruno Mannheim, getting out there in the field. And as we can see throughout the trailer, Lois appears to get herself into a bit of a sticky mess, a bit of a sticky situation that ends up with guns being pointed at her, which is, not usually the first thing you'd expect someone to get into the episode after being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. So, bit odd, but this is Lois Lane. She just does what she wants to do. Now, these shots of Lois in this warehouse with guns being pointed at her and stuff like that, it's in this warehouse looking environment. They were in the trailer for this season, before the show started. And during those, my thoughts were that this could be a distribution plant for something like X Kryptonite, if they're the exact same one from last season, because that was a storyline that wasn't tied up last season, and it felt like it was intentionally left open for something to play out this season. And the stuff that is being used on Atom Man to bring him back to life, which probably healed him and also gave him powers, did look to be ex-kryptonite, but just like liquidized. So Lois appears to be looking into this, but the big question around this is whether Lois is doing this just to stop Bruno Mannheim, or whether due to the fact that Henry Miller, aka Atom Man, was healed, she's also looking for a cure herself through whatever process they are using. That is a wait and see. Not exactly sure how it's going to play out, but I mean, Lois is pretty smart. She can connect the dots and stuff like that, so that wouldn't shock me too much if that's another reason for going down this path. Now, another thing that was in the trailer for this season that is focused on in this trailer for this specific episode of episode 3 is Superman saving Lois under a crumbling daily planet and what looks to be most of Metropolis. Now, you would have to think that this is a nightmare. Like, surely Metropolis isn't getting decimated in this manner. Now, I'm very curious what the nightmare is, whether it's Lois or whether it's Superman, or maybe even someone else. Maybe it's one of the twins or something. I'm not exactly sure it's going to go, because if it's a nightmare related to the cancer stuff, I mean, wouldn't it be a nightmare about like Lois literally just dying from cancer? Like, it wouldn't be like being crushed by the Daily Planet globe. So I'm very curious to see what this is all about. Yeah, not exactly sure where it's going, but it looks like a cool scene. So I can't wait to see what it looks like in the actual episode. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how this connects and if it's specifically a nightmare or something else. That's a wait and see. But yeah, it's somewhat interesting. Now, there aren't any promo images for this episode, unfortunately. They'll probably come out in like the next day or two after this video comes out. This episode is airing next week. We're not taking a break, thank the Lord. So yeah, this episode comes out in, I guess, less than a week from now from when this video will go up. But yeah, we don't have any promo images as of yet. Maybe they kept them secret because of spoiler stuff, because of the reveal with Lois and stuff from episode 2. Maybe that's why they did that. But yeah, nothing as of the moment I'm making this video at the very least. But we do have an interview or do have part of an interview with the showrunners for Superman Lois, as well as Tyler Hoechlin and Bitsy Tulloch, who play Clark and Lois. Now, this interview was done by Krypton's site, and the full interview will be linked in the description of the video. But as I said, it's with the showrunners and the 2 stars. And they were asked if it came up in the writer's room that this story might possibly be too dark. So that's where this starts off. Absolutely, Todd Helbing confirmed, which Brent Fletcher said was a challenge for the team. Everybody really liked it because thematically, it's really interesting, Fletcher said. She's dealing with something that Superman, the most powerful man in the world, cannot stop. This puts the family in a situation that's never been in before. We're a show that is family forward, and we want you to laugh and enjoy yourself and be entertained. We don't want it to be swallowed up by sadness and darkness all the time. So it was our job to balance those tones, Brent continued. We're playing it real. We're not just dropping it. It's the season arc. But we felt like we could do it and balance the tone and still tell a story that was original and poignant and important. When you have a character like Superman, who is the most hopeful person on the planet, it helps balance the darkness quite a bit, Todd added. His true north is hope. And speaking of hope, wasn't it established that Bruno Mannheim was able to keep Atom Man's cancer at bay? Could he be able to help Lois? That conversation will come up. Whether or not it's possible, you'll find out when you see those episodes. But that is part of the conversation in future episodes, Fletcher promised. As for series leads, Elizabeth Tulloch and Tyler Hoechlin, they knew that going here with this storyline would certainly be very heavy. What's compelling about that storyline is that this is a villain that a lot of people can relate to, Tulloch says. A lot of people know people who have had cancer, and what was most interesting to me is that this isn't a villain that Superman can easily just destroy. He's powerless against it. More than anything, what I think is great about our show is that it blends the superhero aspect with the family drama so well, and it's just going to be so grounding. Yes, it's heavy. The fans will decide whether it's a little too heavy. My personal opinion is that the writers have done a great job with this storyline this season. From the beginning, we've always wanted to make it so that we can give Clark and Superman something that he can't necessarily just overcome easily through strength or will or anything like that. So I think that we found that this year is the most grounded version of that, and we want to find ways to make it so he can't be perfect all the time, Tyler added. You're really going to see him in a position he's not used to being in and having to find new ways to navigate it. I think it lends itself to some really intimate moments and vulnerable moments with Lois and the family. There are going to be ups and downs with it, but at the end of the day, for me, at least the way I always still see him, is that no matter what, he's still the symbol of hope. Regardless of what these moments might be for him, there's still hope that everything's going to be okay and it's going to work out. ultimately, this storyline will also bring Lois and Clark even closer in Superman and Lois Season 3. It's just such an intense experience for the two of them as a couple to go through. They've always written the relationship as being really steadfast, and even more so this season, Tulloch says. Now, as I said before, that how they handled it was always going to be a big question when this was opened up. You know, when you open up this, if you want to say can of worms, when it comes to cancer, it's always like, how do you handle it? Because it is such a real life thing that people go through day to day. And there'd be a lot of people that are watching the show that are either going through it at the moment, have known someone that's gone through it, or have lost someone because of it. So it's always going to be a touchy thing, especially breast cancer, which is such a common cancer that you see brought up and stuff like that. So it sounds like it's going to be handled well. Now, obviously, I don't think it was suggested in that interview whether anyone in the writer's room had experience with it, because it's such a common thing, they might, you know, there might be a co-worker that they've worked with in a previous show that then they go, hey, can I talk to your mother that went through this? Or can I talk to your experience about, going through, the final year of your father's life with this cancer, or whatever it might be. There might be those experiences. So, even if you just want to watch documentaries and stuff on it, but because I guess it is such a common thing, I guess it's not something that's too hard to research, but it would have been better if maybe there was some sort of personal experience there. I know we'll have to wait and see how it's handled, because if it's not handled well, then you can come back to that criticism. But if it's done fine, then I guess you don't really, have to come back to that point. But yeah, as they do say in that interview, it's a season-long thing. So I guess don't expect it to be dropped in like episode 4 or 5, which I guess does give the suggestion that they do look into what's happening with Bruno Mannheim, what he did to Adam Man and the brain tumor. But it's a path that Lois chooses not to go down, as we was talking about before. So it sounds like it's addressed, whether it's an option, but it seems like that's not the option they go down. So I do wonder whether Lois just goes through treatment and it succeeds. Maybe that's the positive storyline for this season with Lois. Maybe that's where they're going. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, but that interview sort of gives that suggestion there. But as I said, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and it shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all the stuff we went over, what you're looking forward to most in this episode, all of that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.